Hey there, Chad here. Thanks for joining me. This is Aurora 4X. This is my complete beginner's guide, and we are pretty much at the complete beginning of the beginner's guide. We, in the first episode, learned how to install the game. Second episode, start a new game, and now we are beginning to actually play that new game that we set up. We'll go over a few of the icons that we're going to use a lot so that we kind of know what we're getting into, and it should help you start to learn how to navigate around the whole game. This is the main, I'm not even sure that it has a specific name. It's the main view, I guess. This is the system view, I guess, and we only have one system right now, Sol, to look at. We are going to turn on events. We want to see events as they pop up. They'll show up here. We also have a running log that we get of events. Don't need to have that turned on. This only affects what shows up here, but you can also have this open. A lot of people recommend having it open on a second window so that you can kind of see things as they go by. One of the things we'll be able to do here is edit things like the text color so that we know, hey, that's something I want to be reminded of. Okay, that's not one I see really well, so I'm probably going to want to change that to, I don't know, maybe something else. So that'll stand out just a little bit compared to other notifications. You can also set a back color to really, you got to select it first. You can set a back color that really allows it to stand out potentially. So I guess a black background isn't going to help much since it's a dark blue, but you get the idea. There we go. That'll be fun. There, yeah. So I tend to use the yellows and the brighter colors for things I really, really, really need to know about. You will almost always know that research completed because the game won't advance automatically beyond that point, and it will continue to tell you right here, research completed. I'm going to change that back color back to the basic color, and now I'm not even sure what that is. So let's, let's get that fixed real quick. I'm going to go ahead and we'll set it to black, and that'll be fine. That'll be the same in my mind. I can barely see a difference there. So, okay, that's one thing to get to know. The very first icon here is the summary icon. It is your economics icon, or table is what it brings up, or screen, and then it has a whole lot of stuff on it. And one important thing to note is the very first icon here, Open Colony Summary tab, that's this tab. The Industry tab is also linked to this button, Open the Industry. And there you can see, this is where we were, and now we're on Industry. Mining, same thing. Shipyards, not on there, not actually mapped to it. You have to get to shipyards through here, to the best of my knowledge. Shipyard tasks, we'll learn more about that in the future. Research is the beaker. You can click on that, and that'll bring you to research as well. Ground unit training, we'll worry about later. Wealth, this is the wealth button. And then that's it. It's just those first 5 that will bring you to specific pages in here. We'll learn more about these in just a few moments. But a couple of the other ones you're going to need to know about. This is the class design. This is where we design ships. Okay, that's what class design is used for. This is the component design, or it's called the create window. This is where we create engines. I can come in here and I can build a new engine system, and I can give it 50% of its normal power, and I can make it, larger than its normal 10 hull size, which is about 500 tons. I could make it 20 hull size. Come down here and find 20 and click that. And now it's 1,000 tons, and that'll change its power output and things like that. That's what we do in here. And there is a whole list of things you do here. There's about 15 to 20 items. Rail guns, particle beams. We use engines quite a bit. We'll use reactors. We'll use weapons and power plants. Those are probably the big ones. Jump engines, that's another one we'll get to in there. And of course, there are other things there as well. Then the next one, this is your fleet button. We will be in there quite a bit. And the fleet basically gives you the consist of your fleet. Currently, we have nothing. We have nothing because we haven't started the game yet. Now, one thing to note, this one's a slightly different color. It is a generated fleet entry. It's civilians is what it is. So you kind of run the military and the governance of everything. This is like a company that has a ship out there or will have a ship out there eventually. You can get a whole list of those. For now, we can ignore those. We'll worry about those at another time, and they're not important early on. Okay, I think that's a lot of the big stuff. We'll come back and use that window quite a bit in the very near future. This is the missile design window, the turret design window. We don't need either of those for quite a while. The ground unit window, this one we'll probably dedicate 1 or 2 episodes to in the near future, but we won't be using that anytime soon. This one's important. This is all your commanders and all your scientists and all your administrators. These folks all have names. We set up in the previous episode, we set it up to American style names. You can set it up to whatever you like, and you can mix and match too. We'll do that here in a few minutes, but we're going to spend a little time in this window today. This is the medals. We already talked about that. This is your race screen. This kind of gives you an overview of everything going on, and it's very similar to the summary, at least initially, because we only have the one colony, which is Earth. Earth isn't technically a colony, but it works like any colony. Colonies will show up here. So when I say that, realize we start on Earth. Earth isn't technically a colony, I don't guess. This is the system map, it's the system generation and display. This shows us all the known objects in this particular system. You'll notice there's names of moons, there's planets, there's names of asteroids, there's names of comets. There's a ton of stuff in here. And it gives us details on those. And we will, again, visit that at another time. This is the galaxy map. It will show up on another screen if you have more than one screen. And it looks something like this. As we discover new systems, which is kind of the tail end of what this complete beginner's guide is going to touch on, they will show up in here, is what it comes down to. We probably won't be touching this for a very, very, very long time. Let's skip this one. It's when you run into aliens. This one's when you run into aliens. This is your components. We don't have any components yet. We haven't built anything, but we could look them up here. And this is an important one. This is all the minerals we know of in the system. And right now we haven't explored anywhere. So the only place we know of stuff is on Earth. We're going to go to wide view. It gives it a little bit less clutter. As we survey other bodies in the system, we'll get a list here, and it will tell us, we will get a list, but it will only list things that have minerals. Or in some very rare examples, I actually haven't seen it yet, something that doesn't have minerals but might have minerals. And it's a nuance, and we'll talk about that in many, many episodes. Not something to worry about today. For now, this is things that has minerals on it that you can go and look at. Once we start exploring, you'll see that list fill up pretty quickly. We'll have a lot of entries, 50, 100, something like that. Okay, this is the sector management. We will not get into that. This is that event log we talked about. This basically kind of does a refresh. This is your save. This is a Space Master mode. What that is it's kind of the God mode. You click that if you need to change something because you messed it up. A couple of things you can do with that. We won't be using that a lot. And then this is the automated advance button. When that is turned on, which changes colors to a brighter color, forgive me, I really don't know what color it is, it will do auto advance until something important happens. Something important is things like something finishes building or research completes or etc. Things like that. We'll go ahead and leave that off for now because we're not really going to need it for this particular episode. Okay, let's do some of the things we need to do to get a good start. And we're going to start by assigning a governor to our planet, Earth, to our world. We're going to go to this view here. There's a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to show you the easy way first, and then I'll show you how you can do it a little more manually if you want. We're going to come in here, and we're going to go all the way over here to Governor and Miscellaneous. And what that's going to do is show us who our current governor is. And then if we have academies, which we do, we have one academy, it'll show us who the commandant of the academy is. Again, there's nobody assigned yet because we haven't done that. First, we're going to do a governor. And I'll tell you what, we'll do the governor this way, and we'll do the Academy Commandant the manual way. I think that's a good way to maybe handle this. So the governor basically is going to be an administrator, and he will apply certain benefits to the body that he is governing. We have the ability to just to automatically have the system pick the best candidate. First, we're going to say automated assignment. What that'll do is if the current governor dies or retires, which is a possibility too, it will automatically pick somebody else based on the criteria we give. Second thing we want to do, and this is very important regardless of how you pick this is a very important colony to us. It is the primary colony, so we're going to set it to high importance. And that sound, of course, is I didn't need to hit enter there, and I hit enter. Okay, required bonus. So there's a whole list of things that the governor can influence. And what we want to select, at least for a first game, we want to select production. Wealth creation isn't a bad idea. We can leave that one alone. And mining isn't a bad idea. We can leave that one alone. So what it's going to do, we're going to hit this assign colony governor. And what it'll do is go through the list of eligible administrators. It will find the one basically that has the best production. If there's a tie, it'll find the next one with the best wealth creation, and the best production followed by best wealth creation, and then mining. And then after that, it's probably a pick'em of some sort. I'm going to go ahead and say assign colony governor. And there we go. A governor named Al Carey is now in charge of Earth. He is 23 years old. Okay, everybody is very young initially for the most part. Most of our officers will be in their mid-20s. Even the top level ones are going to be not much older than that. There are a few that'll have like 30 years service though, but for the most part, everybody's in their very early 20s. Shows their start date, shows us what he's capable of. He's a level 4. His production value is 20, so he will help improve production, and his wealth creation is 15. He'll help with that as well. Now, we could do the same for the Academy Commandant, I think. No, we can't just do that. We could say assign vacancies, I think. Maybe we can't do that. What we're going to do here, though, is we're next going to pick an Academy Commandant, and we're going to do it the manual way, and we could have picked the governor the same way. That's what I guess I want to impress upon you. We're going to come over to people. Here are our people. And there are 4 categories. We have naval officers, ground officers, scientists, and administrators. There also is retired or died. I think it keeps track of them for about a year before it flushes them out of the system. I'm not exactly sure what that limit is, but 20 years in, it won't have somebody in here anymore that died in the first year. That I'm certain of. Okay, what we want to look at for the Academy Commandant to start with is we're going to want to go with a scientist. And we're going to be doing a little bit with scientists here initially. The first few years of the game is almost completely focused on them. These are all the different departments of science research that exist in the game. And anything that has a plus means we have scientists assigned to that department. This is good. You want to have scientists everywhere. There's a downside to this. We do not have a lot of scientists, actually. This is not many at all. And that is a little bit of a problem. What you can see is there's a percentage here. That is their bonus for that particular field of research. So Jude walks here, 20% bonus when doing power and propulsion. We generally, when we're assigning scientists, there will be a button that says match scientist or match field or something like that. We'll see it shortly. You generally keep that on. You don't have somebody research outside of their field because if they do, it's 4 times slower. There is a way to remedy not having folks in certain slots, and we're going to deal with that in just a moment because the first one we're going to do is construction and production, and we don't have anybody assigned. One other thing to know about that screen, though, is you've got that 20%. That is not the only important value for somebody's significance as a researcher. Jude has a 20% bonus to power and production, but their research admin is the very lowest at 5. These tend to run in groupings of 5, and I've seen as high as 35 to start the game and as low as 5. 5 is very low. What this means is when Jude, I'm assuming that's a man, when Jude is working research. He can use 5 research facilities, and that's all. Somebody else, Morton here, he's also a 5. That's low. This guy's a 5. Wow, we're just really coming to town, aren't we? There's a 10. Zella is a 10. So Zella can handle up to 10 research facilities at once. If you recall, we have 24 research facilities to start. This direct fire guy, 5. This is unusual. There's a 20. There's a 20, no bonus. They're at a 0. They will gain bonus and they will gain research admin as a part of the process of the game. So don't be too disturbed about that. You might have horrible, horrible values here. These are pretty bad values if you ask me. This is not going to be entirely pleasant. Here's a guy with 30 and a 15% bonus. So he's pretty good. He's pretty good. In fact, that's actually a she, isn't it? Keisha. We're going to move Keisha to a different department because we don't need a rock star in defensive systems initially. We need a rock star in power and propulsion, and we need a rock star in construction. So she's going to get moved. Let's see Lloyd. Lloyd is a 20-15. That's pretty good. This guy is a 10-10. He might be the one we leave in defense systems. We might move those other 2. Biology, we don't really need anybody initially. This one is more... You start to get interested in this late, early part of the game, late, early stage. Yeah. And then this guy is a 10, so they don't even have great stats there. And then we don't have anybody in ground combat, so we're going to need to do that. So some good news, the academy that we have, by assigning a scientist, is more likely to produce scientists as they come through. You could assign a naval commander or a ground commander or an administrator, and depending on what you assign, there's different possibilities or proportions of what might come out of the academy. We'll learn a little bit more about academies soon. What I want to do for today, we want to decide which one of these folks makes the most sense. Well, what I want to do is this guy is a 20%, but a 5, and he's in a field that we don't really have much use for right now. I could move him to another field, but he's still going to be a 5. His percentage will drop when we move him, and we'll see that in a minute. But he's still going to be a 5. This guy is going to be at least he's a 10. He can literally do twice as much as this guy, research twice as fast because they have the same bonus. I'm going to make Jeffrey the commandant at Earth. Earth has an academy, a research academy, RA1. It isn't just research, though. It also turns out our military folks. And we're going to click on Jeffrey, and we're going to click right here. Now, right now, you'll see all that is in this list is Academy Commandant because that's all he's eligible for. He's not a military officer. If we picked a military officer, like an admiral, we would get a different list here. We would get different list of possibilities for them, including Academy Commandant. We could assign an admiral to that. We're not going to right now because we really need scientists. So we're going to assign Jeffrey to that, and we're going to click here. And then finally, we literally just click assign. Now, before we do that, there's another way you could approach this. We could come over here. This is a search window, and it's not obvious that that's what it is. So we're going to take a moment to kind of spell this out. This is a search window, and it doesn't have anything in it until you select something here. If we select naval officer, all of a sudden, boom, all of our naval officers are listed. Literally all of them. If we selected military, same. We're going to do scientists, and we're going to see there should be about 15 of them, thereabouts, 12. Okay, these are all of our scientists. They're research admin. This is that number up here, research admin. So he can do 30 research facilities, 20, that's based on this field here. This is basically what we're sorting on. Secondly, we're going to sort on research, and that's the percentage. In fact, that's what I want to do first. And if I flip those, what you'll see is research, it only shows up once. It ignores the second time something shows up here. That's why the rest of these might say like research admin. If they all said research, we would just have that first column. So what we can see by looking at this is we don't have a whole lot of high-end guys. A lot of times you might start with somebody who's a 30. And you certainly start with more folks that have like 20 as their admin. So this is not the best of starts. Now, we kind of already know, here you can't tell what field they're in, unfortunately. We don't have a way to sort on that. But what we can do is we see them over here, and we know that Jeffrey, there. Well, it didn't pick Jeffrey, though, did it? I guess he's who I had selected. We see him right there. When we select Jeffrey on this side or this side, doesn't matter where you select him from. It's the darker color. The white background is not what was selected. It's what would be selected in that list. And then we go to Earth. We click there, and we say assign. And you'll notice up here, assigned as Academy Commandant on Earth. We have now assigned Joffrey as the Academy Commander. So he will apply his bonus to various things. Okay, a lot of words for very little progress here. We got a couple more things we want to do. We're going to come back to this screen in just a minute because we're going to need to find out how to move folks between fields. But so I don't forget, we want to go to the race screen. That is the flag. And we're going to come down here, and there's some tabs here. There's race, name themes, and academies. We're going to go to name themes first. When we started the game, I selected United States as the naming theme. And that's what this is. Now, I can add other nationalities in here. I'm going to add English. And I'm going to say add theme. And I'm going to add German. And I'm going to say add theme. And we're going to say, it doesn't really matter. I'm just adding some flavor is what it comes down to. We'll add Japanese, and I'll add Indian. There's some familiarity with Indian names, so we'll do that. Now, by and large, I want to use the American names because they'll stand out the most to me. So what I'm going to do is edit the weight. These are the weights of how often any of these particular values will come up. Right now, with them all being the same, it's 1 in 5, 20%. We're going to change India. We're going to say we only want the weight of that to be 2. So out of every 100 people right now, actually out of every 402, 2 of them will be Indian. So it's going to be a very low number, 0.5%. We're going to do the same with the other numbers, though. For English, I'm going to actually change that to 12%. For German, I'm going to set that to 8%. And for for Japanese, we're going to set that to 4%. Not really percentages exactly, it's a weight. So it's the value divided by the total. And these are those percentages then. So there you have it. So roughly 2 in, I guess 3 in every 200 of the new names that are generated will be Indian style names. Every 100, 3 will be Japanese, 6 will be German, etc. That's really what we're setting there. It's just to give you some flavor. Okay. Next up, and by the way, there are some things in here like Vulcan and Warhammer 40K. And I think there was one other one I noticed. Medieval France. I thought there was I'm not seeing it now. There was one other one I thought, Ferengi. You have Ferengi names you can add in there. So yeah, it's not just, our standard names. Okay, next up, we're going to go to academies. This is a pretty important step too. And what we're going to do here, there's just one thing we want to do. This tells us how many academies there are on Earth, their current training level, the number of graduates per year. They're only turning out 10 people per year. We're going to add another academy right away. We need more folks. And the number of junior officers that are turned out. But what we want to do is we want to make it quality versus quantity. So we're going to drop this down to number 5. And what you'll see is now we're only getting 2,000 crew members instead of 10,000 every year. That's important to kind of be mindful of, but you want quality initially, certainly. Later in the game, you might change that, but I'm going to leave it at 5 for now. And there we have it. Okay, so one other thing we're going to do right now, because we are starting to get a little long here, we're going to go ahead and set up our first industry build. So what we're going to do is select industry here. We could also go to the summary and then click industry here. Either way, it's the same screen. And these are the things we can build. This is construction. These are the things we currently have available. This list will change. It's important to be mindful of that because, it will change here very, very quickly, actually, when we do our first research project. There are a few other things you can do here. The only other one I have used so far is components. And what the idea is, when you go to build a ship, it has components. It has a crew, a cargo hold, potentially. It has engineering space. It has a maintenance bay, things like that. You can pre-build these using your industry. You can pre-build them so that when a ship needs to be built, it doesn't have to build it then. It can just grab one out of the stockpile. That is really what this components thing is. That was a question I had for quite a while. I couldn't quite figure out what the purpose of it was. When you go and build a ship, it'll ask if you want to use components or if you want to use brand new created things. And if you have components, you can use them. And it speeds up the process is what it does. So we could start building some fuel storage if we want it, because we know we're going to use fuel storage throughout the game. And it'll just be sitting there. And I don't know if it takes a week to build this normally, and now it's not going to take any time or what. I honestly don't know. But that is what the components are for. Almost always we're going to be using construction. And for this very first project, we're going to go down to we're going to go to Military Academy. This tells us what it costs. These are various minerals that are going to be used. We'll talk more about those in the next episode. And it's going to cost 2,400 wealth. Our current wealth is 7,000. So it's about a third of what we have is what it's going to cost us to build a military academy. Now, have no fear. We're making money. Not a lot, but we are making some money in the meantime. So what we're going to do is select that. Come down here. These numbers generally are editable. And in this case, we want to say number of items. Well, we're only going to build one right now. We will build one. Now, if we said two, as soon as the first one is complete, it will be usable. You should get a message that says Military Academy completed on Earth, and it will continue to build the next one if you do that. We're just going to build one this time so we can kind of control the flow of time. And the percentage, this is how much of your industry is focused on building that item. 100% means all of it. Now, if I add that, and we're going to hit create to do that, I can't add anything else right now that will immediately get built because we're at 100% capacity. I could change this down to 50 and I could add maybe like a research facility and we'd have two of them building, but it'll take both of them twice as long to build. That's how this works. If we wanted to modify this value, we decided, oh, you know what? Yeah, 100's too much. What you do is you click it here and you click on modify and it will change it to whatever this was set to. So it's actually kind of a 3-step process. I skipped a step. We're going to say Military Academy, come on now, 90%, modify. And now you'll see it's at 90%, and we have unused construction of 10. Unused construction doesn't do anything for you, but it also doesn't cost you any money. So that is something to consider. Hopefully, if we balance things right, we never have to worry about that. We can be at 100% construction for the entire game, and it's not a problem. But for now, just know that when you have unused construction, true, you're not building something, but you're also not spending money if you're tight on cash. We're going to go ahead and change this back to 100. So I'm going to click it there. I'm going to click there and type in 100 and modify. And there we go. All right. Well, we're quickly approaching 30 minutes on this video, and I really didn't expect that. But I do think we're past some of the basics on what some icons do. And in the next episode, we will start our research, and then we will actually begin advancing the game and seeing what happens. I hope you'll hang around for that. And I look forward to working through this. If you have questions, go ahead and post them. I do want to say there are some other series out there. One of the folks that I've talked with and has been very, very helpful to me personally is DeFran. He has DeFran Strategy as his channel, and he's been helpful. He encouraged me to go ahead and put these videos together. He hasn't been a newbie at the game in a very, very long time. Very nice guy, and yeah, just that wanted to give him that shout out. Now, a lot of his beginner stuff is much older. However, he did start a new series. His approach is a little different than mine, and it may not be the worst thing to look at both of them and, you know, maybe glean some different ways of doing different things. He is much more an expert at it than I am. He has been answering a lot of my questions. There you have it. Thanks for joining me. And until next time, fair travels.